Welcome back, and everybody, to another One Piece video. Today, we are here to yet again milk the cow and talk about the man marked by flames. Yes, that is right. I decided to hold another poll regarding this mysterious character. You might be asking why, and that's simply because it is the year 2026, and Oda did say in the Jump Festa message that relatively soon we will be meeting this mysterious character. So why not have another discussion about him and see where the opinions lie? So here we have it. 4 options are on the board in this poll. I asked a very simple question, but do we know who the man marked by flames is? First option is that this is a brand new character that works for the world government. The reason this is an option is because of that panel right there. Shiryu of the Rain was spitballing the idea that it would make a lot of sense if a world government operative had the red poneglyph. In my opinion, that makes a lot of sense. If anything, I am shocked Imu does not have all 4 of them. Considering they've been around for the past 900 years, you'd imagine that Imu would have at least a couple poneglyphs. Like, dude, what were you doing for 900 years? You had the God Knights, you had the Gorosei, you have Marines that have bases across the world. You're telling me that they don't have at least one of those bad boys? I refuse to believe it. So, I do think Shiryu's theory here is pretty sound. The only problem with this is that it is simply a theory, right? Shiryu doesn't know for sure. It's just that it would make a lot of sense to him personally, and it makes sense to me as well. As far as like who this could be, of course, easily it could be a God Knight. Maybe eventually we'll meet a God Knight who does have a burn scar. And while we did see a lot of God Knights at God Valley, we didn't see all of them from the current gen. Keep in mind, Killingham was not present 38 years ago, but he's one of those guys today. So who's to say there isn't a new God Knight in our era who does have a burn scar and who does sail on a black ship? I guess that's another weird thing, right? Whoever this man marked by flames is, they're on a black ship. So if Imu and the world government has it, why would they keep sailing it around on the ocean and not just bring it back to home base? I guess that is a big question. So yeah, world government operative, not a bad choice, but of course only 9% of people actually voted for that option. Next up, it is a brand new pirate person. Yes, that is right. This would imply that we're going to meet a brand new character, one that we have never seen before, neither the Straw Hats nor us, the audience, and this person is probably waiting at the next island to reveal this poneglyph to us. This does seem very plausible, and that's simply because of, out of all the characters we know currently, the man marked by flames doesn't really fit anybody that well, outside of the last option, which we'll get to in a little bit. But right now, I think a lot of people are drawing blanks when it comes to the man marked by flames, and while we do have a lot to go off of, it doesn't really fit anybody, right? We have Black Ship, check. We have Whirlpool, check. We have a weird Law and Kid connection, check. I say Kid and Law because Kid is the first guy who brought it up to us, and Law just had a weird like one-off panel where when Kid mentioned him, Law was just like looking off into the distance. And then in the anime, I don't know if you guys saw it, but in the anime, when they mention the man marked by flames, Law has like a whole like 5-second scene where he's just like, and it's like, wait, does he know that guy? Has he heard like rumors about him? Like, what's going on there? So yeah, that's a really tough one. Of course, easily solved if you just bring in a brand new character. But the problem with that is that if it is a brand new character, will they have that impact to the fan base that a known character would have? Which now brings us to the next option. Yes, we have seen the man marked by flames before. The most notable candidates when it comes to this option right here are primarily Shiki and Dragon, or at least those are the guys I've seen the most talk about, right? People look at Dragon and they're like, okay, we know Dragon is going to be important in the final saga. We know we're going to have to meet him eventually. And then the burn scar in this context could be his face tattoo. You know, people look at that, they're like, okay, maybe that's like a burn scar. Maybe he got that tattoo via flames. So, you know, there are ways to make it work. And then as far as the pitch black ship goes, while the Wind Grandma dragon ship isn't pitch black, it does have hints of black, which people are like, okay, close enough, right? As far as the Whirlpool ability, we know that Dragon does have some sort of wind powers, wind devil fruit. So he could theoretically make whirlpools. But my main hang up with this would be the red poneglyph. Just the fact that he has it just feels odd. And I say that because Robin was with the Revs for 2 years. Robin has met Dragon, and you're telling me that Dragon, not at any point in time, said, hey, Robin, the only poneglyph reader in the world, would you like to read this red poneglyph that I picked up? Never happened, right? And then Robin, when she got to Zoe and she saw the first red poneglyph, she had no idea those even existed. So that right there is one of my main hangups. And when it comes to Robin, you could say, oh, Dragon didn't trust her. Would he not? He saw what happened at O'Hara. He knew Clover. He knew the O'Harans. And he also knows that Robin is a part of Luffy, his son's pirate crew. Why would he not tell Robin? I feel like there's some kind of weird thing going on there if that's the case. And you could say, oh, he picked up the poneglyph recently. Not possible, because right when Robin left the Revs is when we went to Fishman Island and realized that the poneglyph wasn't there. That means that Dragon would only have like a weak chance, maybe, to get that poneglyph without us knowing. So for me, I don't think Dragon is super plausible, but I get why people gravitate towards him, because he will be a key player in this final saga. As far as Shiki goes, he's an oddball, but we do know that he is still alive currently via the last SPS, where Oda said that Shiki is currently 73 years old. So he exists out there somewhere. And given Shiki's devil fruit, the float float no mi, he could be a very relevant character, again, in this final saga. With the entire world of One Piece sinking into the ocean, Shiki's floating ability, which can lift entire islands, could be very beneficial. So I don't think Shiki is that bad of an option. I'd say that the main hang-up with Shiki would be Film Strong World. Because that movie exists, I'm not entirely sure if Oda wants to bring Shiki back into the canon story. Because if we do bring him back in, we're either going to have to address that movie or completely ignore it. And Oda's even mentioned before how that movie exists in a weird gray zone where he was like, yeah, the float float of me is kind of broken, so I don't want to give it to Shiki. But because it exists in the movie, I have to give it to Shiki. So yeah, Shiki is an oddball character. I do hope we see him eventually, just because he is really cool and because he is, pivotal to the God Valley flashback in a way. And if they bring him back, maybe we could see Kyowo Silver Axe from the God Valley flashback as well. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So, one more character I do want to bring up before we move on to the last option would be the Mad Monk Rouge. Yes, that is right. He is the final supernova the Straw Hats have yet to meet. So far, we've met every single supernova, arc after arc after arc after arc. Rouge is the final one, the missing piece. We do know that he has these weird flame tattoos on his arm. Could that be the marking of flames that they're talking about? If Rouge were the man marked by flames, that could explain why Kid and Law knows something about him, because he is a fellow supernova. Two downsides though with the Rouge. One, to our knowledge, he does not have any whirlpool creating abilities. And two, we've seen his ship. We know his ship. It's not pitch black. That is a big thing right there. And I guess we should go back to Shiki as well. I should also mention that Shiki does not have any whirlpool abilities to our knowledge. Maybe he could do something wacky with the, float float no mi, but we haven't seen it. And as far as ship goes, Shiki doesn't have a black ship, unless he just crafted a brand new one, or unless it got marked by flames during the Ed War or something of the sort. Shiki's ship isn't black either. So those are the main hangups with characters we've seen before. Like, some things work, some things don't. And of course, Oda could add in more lore to make certain characters fit into those positions. But right now, out of everybody we've talked about, nobody fits 100%. But now, we hit the final character on the list. The character that I have put all of my stocks onto. The character that could fit every single piece. Barbell. The godfather of water. If you've been around the channel, you know that ever since I saw Barbell, I fell in love with his goofy ass character. Why? Because he's a catfish fisherman. I love catfish. And two, because he looks really damn silly. And because we've never heard of this guy before until recently. He is a brand new character, right? So when it comes to Barbell, you could be asking, okay, how does he actually fit in to the man marked by flames criteria? Well, let's start with all the points one by one. Whirlpools first. So, when it comes to fishermen, one of the first things we've heard about is that they can create whirlpools because they simply swim in circles in the water. We've seen multiple fishermen groups do this before, and this was last mentioned at Whole Cake Island, when the fishermen pirates, led by Jinbei, spawned in a whirlpool to stall the Big Mom pirates from attacking Luffy and the gang. Next thing's next, but Barbell is technically marked by flames. If you look at the image provided, and of course if you go back to volume 114 and even the flashback, you see that in all those instances, Barbell does have fire hair. It isn't the first time we've seen this before. Hyogoro back in Wano had this as well. But yes, Barbell is another character with fire hair that is somewhat unexplained. He just has that, man. One more thing, but I should have put another character here right next to Barbell, and that would be another fishman, most notably, SUNBELL. That is right, Barbell and SUNBELL. I should just mention this right now, but I have another theory that SUNBELL and Barbell are brothers, or they're related to some extent. The main reason why is, one, because of their build, and two, because they both have Bell in their name, and they were pirates in the same era. SUNBELL was a part of the Roger Pirates, while Barbell was a part of the Rocks Pirates. I think there is going to be a connection there, and I want to say this, but SUNBELL also has a very similar tattoo to a Rouge as well. The same tattoo that, people look at it for a Rouge and say, oh, he's marked by flames. SUNBELL has that too. So yes, SUNBELL and Barbell, I think, are maybe working hand in hand, and they're protecting that final road poneglyph. Next, the Black Ship. So when it comes to the One Piece manga, it's really hard to tell what colors Oda is going for at a lot of times, right? One thing looks black, next thing you know, it's red. One thing looks yellow, next thing you know, it's blue. It's really hard to tell colors in One Piece because it's all black and white. But we did see recently that there was a decent candidate for a pitch black ship, and that would be the marine prisoner ship we saw at God Valley. We got a full-ass page of just that ship. And here's the thing. At God Valley, when the Rocks Pirates disbanded, they all went their separate ways, and they talked about stealing ships. Shiki wanted to steal a ship, Gonzui wanted to steal a ship, Kyowa wanted to steal a ship, and guess what? The one character we pretty much got no dialogue from, and one character we didn't see escape God Valley, Barbell, we didn't see anything from him. Why? Is it possibly because he took that black ship and Oda didn't want to spell it out for us? Another thing we got to talk about is the location of the road poneglyph. I didn't bring this up for any of the previous candidates because obviously, they're pirates, they could just sail there, blah, blah. But the road poneglyph was last located at Fishman Island. Of course, every pirate pretty much has to go through Fishman Island to get to the New World. But here's the thing. Barbell and SUNBELL, they're fishmen. It just makes sense that they would know that poneglyph location, and it would make sense if Neptune gave them permission to take that poneglyph as well. I think there's a lot of things about Barbell and SUNBELL that just work really well with this. And another thing too, when it comes to fishmen taking poneglyphs, they wouldn't technically be the first. Well, they would be the first in, accordance to the timeline, but we saw that Jinbei and Waratsumi, they together took a poneglyph and brought it to Big Mom. So it could just be a thing where fishmen love moving poneglyphs around, right? When it comes to why Barbell and SUNBELL would protect that final road poneglyph, it could be because SUNBELL knows the truth of the world. We gotta remember that, right? The Roger Pirates, every Roger Pirate out there, except for Shanks and Buggy, they know the history of the world. They know what Roger is waiting for. There's a chance that SUNBELL, because the road poneglyph was located at Fishman Island, he took it upon himself to protect Roger's legacy, or to wait until the right person comes along. So SUNBELL and Barbell together are the men marked by flames. And here's the thing too, we need to get more fishman lore. We really do. It was last mentioned during Egghead, but they kind of dropped a one-liner on us and they moved on. But we heard that Emmett, that giant robot on Egghead, it activated 200 years ago and attacked Marie's Rod. Nobody knows why it activated. It just did. And Robin, they took that event and they correlated it with fishmen gaining rights. Robin said, oh, 200 years ago, yeah, that's when fishmen got rights. There's something there that happened with fishmen, and I think we do need to learn about that. Who better to tell us than SUNBELL and Barbell? Two old school fisherman brothers. As far as where these guys are located, I could easily see them being around here in Elbaf. I could see them being at Lodestar even. I think they are traveling together. And this is where the theory gets a little bit crazy, but I don't think they're alone. I think that by this point in time, they might have formed their own pirate group of retired pirates. And the reason I say that, and this is gonna be kind of goofy, but we could see some Whitebeard remnants alongside them. Yeah. So again, you can ignore this part of the theory. That's totally fine. The main thing I wanted to convey was SUNBELL and Barbell being the men marked by flames. But I want to take it a step further because a lot of people have no idea if we will ever meet the rest of the Whitebeard remnants in the story. And when I say Whitebeard remnants, I primarily mean Jozu and VISTA. So when it comes to Jozu and VISTA, the last time we actually saw them was during the Payback War where they all went to go fight Blackbeard and lost. And it's like, okay, after that happened, where did they go? Who are they hanging out with? Are they on a random island? Will we ever see them? I think we will. I think that VISTA and Jozu are actually holed up with the Bell brothers. Why? Why would that be the case? One, they kind of have nowhere else to fit into the story. And two, but during the Odin flashback, when the Roger pirates and Whitebeard pirates are fighting each other, the person that SUNBELL fought was VISTA. So VISTA and SUNBELL, like, obviously you had to fight somebody, it could just be a total coincidence, but there could be a connection there. And they're like old rivals or something. So yeah, SUNBELL could be hanging out with VISTA. And the reason I do like VISTA here is because one, it could be a nice stage for Zoro to go to, where Zoro meets VISTA and it's like, hey, let's learn some sword techniques, or ooh, let's fight a little bit. Ooh, let's talk about Mihawk. I think VISTA is just the character a lot of people kind of want into the story. It's just hard to fit him anywhere. So if we do want to fit VISTA in, this could be the way to do it. And the thing with VISTA is that there is hidden lore between him and Yasopp, Usopp's dad. So we saw that during Marineford, when everything was dying down, we had like a panel where Yasopp and VISTA were like staring at each other, and that itself could be nothing, right? But here's the thing. In the Vivricard data books, it is revealed that VISTA and Yasopp have a shared history and bad blood. And it's like, okay, like it would be really cool if we go and we meet SUNBELL and Barbell. Yes, they hit us with Fishman Island lore. Yes, they give us the poneglyph. Maybe Jinbei has a nice conversation with them. Blah, 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 blah. And then VISTA hangs out with Zoro. They get some stuff done there. And we also get Usopp's dad's backstory? Maybe? Yeah, so I think VISTA, Jozu, Whitebeard remnants, just retired pirates in general, they could be hanging out with the Bell brothers and protecting that final road poneglyph. So yeah, when it comes to Barbell and SUNBELL, I have put all the chips down. I do believe it is them. Dude, I've made so many videos talking about this theory right here. I bet you guys are sick of it, but it is a theory that I do believe in because they do just check so many boxes off easily. And look at this, dude. Look at this. Here's the proof of the videos I've made talking about these goobers, brother. It's one thing if I believe in a theory, but just recently I heard that somebody else has come into the fold. Tekking also somewhat believes in the Barbell theory. That is right, you guys. I heard about this and I was just losing my mind. But essentially, I don't want to throw words in his mouth, but he wanted to talk about former Rocks pirates potentially being the man marked by flames. And he said if he had to pick a character from the Rocks pirates to be that guy, he picked Barbell. Hey, all I gotta say, man, he picked Barbell to be his champion. And not just that, of course, I don't want to leak any messages here as well, but I've kind of shot this theory over to Dawn and Dusk, and they also really enjoyed the Barbell connections. And I think the main thing I just want to say is that there's not a lot of holes in the theory. Like, there's no real reason to just say, okay, it can't work because of this. We have this canon information that says that Barbell cannot be that guy, or SUNBELL cannot be that guy. There's nothing yet. I think that's one of the main things. Like, we could explain the ship, we can explain the whirlpools, We can explain the Fishman Island connections. We can explain why this would be good to the plot. Like, it does feel somewhat okay. And, of course, again, kind of like the Vista and Jozu segment, you can completely ignore what I'm about to say, but maybe Barbell and Sunbell save Kid and Killer? Because last we saw, they were off the coast of Elbaf, Shanks beat them, they were sinking down in the ocean, and it's like, okay, nobody has seemingly saved Kid or Killer. Maybe they wash ashore onto Elbaf like a week later or something. Maybe they went to like the next island. But if Sunbell and Barbell are just swimming in the ocean, maybe they could save Kid and Killer. And the thing with that, I know that sounds very random, but Kid was the first guy who brought up the man marked by flames. Barbell and Sunbell, they have a lot of things that could make them important characters. And Oda, in my opinion, has started shifting the story back towards Fishman. Most recently with Killingham and his whole dialogue with Jimbei. Of course, because of the Egghead lore with Emmett and Fishman getting rights. And then just recently, we got Fisher Tiger coming back into the story too. I do think the story is starting to err a little bit more towards the Fishman side again. And this could be good for Shirahoshi, right? I think a lot of people believe that Mosa is Shirahoshi, that Loki might go to Mosa and save her. I mean, she is Poseidon, so she's going to be coming back regardless of what happens there. You know, whether you believe she's Mosa or not, Shirahoshi is very important. Maybe we learn some more Poseidon lore from the Fishman. You know, a Fishman that knows the entire history of the world. SUNBELL! It can happen. And of course, because Barbell would be his theoretical brother, maybe he shares that information. You know, the Bell brothers coming at it, man. I don't know. I think it's such a fire theory. It's fun, it's stupid, it's everything I think a theory should be. And just imagine, dude, you know, we're getting a Frankie power up here, you know, we're expecting Usopp to glow up, Brooke is getting some stuff. You know, all the Straw Hats one by one are getting pretty good feats. Imagine Barbell teaching Jimbei Fishman karate, you know, Fishman Muay Thai. Just something of that sort, man. Oh, I cannot wait. And yeah, would you look at that? I don't know if it's because I infected everybody like a parasite, or maybe it's because, you know, Tekking also kind of tossed the idea of Barbell around a little bit. But look at that. 32% of people believe in Barbell. Is it brain rot? You know, is it just people gassing up this random character? Are people just pitying me and voting for him regardless? Or do people really believe this theory? I don't know. But here we go. We got 32% of the votes going to Barbell, the godfather of water. My God. You guys make me so proud. So now into the comment section. We're not going to stay here for too long. This top comment says, the real man was the marks we flamed along the way. Barbell is the only one we don't know what happened to him. His hair looks like fire. We have seen zero feats or personality from him. Even Gil Bastar, who is largely forgotten, we know where his body is. Every single Rocks member we know their fate or have some extended lore about them. But Barbell has nothing. Oda has to be saving the Father of the Sea. That's such a good title, man. I love that. Father of the Sea, Father of Water, Godfather of the Ocean. Give him all the titles, man. Hey, Jimbei is known as the first son of the sea. Where there's a son, there's a father. Even a grandfather, if you want to say that. After the recent Domi Reversi BS and the SBS reveal, I think Rocks and Shiki have a chance to be the man marked by flames, but the agenda says it's the strongest Fishman, Barbell. And yeah, I think Shiki has a decent chance to be the man marked by flames. Rocks, we'll talk about him in a later video. I think he's dead. I don't think he's coming back to life. We saw that when you're undomified, you get, you know, brought back to decent HP. You know, you're unfatigued. But from what we saw, when Rocks was undomied, he didn't like flip into the ground. He didn't get his HP back. He was still huffing and puffing. He even accepted his death to an extent. And plus, Rayleigh said that, you know, Rocks was killed. So I do think that Rocks is permanently gone. Could be wrong. But, you know, I'm not mad at the Shiki option. I think Rocks, you know, with the latest chapter, people are leaning towards him maybe being alive. Again, we'll talk about that later. I feel like the government gatekeeping the One Piece is perfect. It definitely fits their style. I think so too. My only problem is why now? Like maybe they didn't know the red poneglyphs existed until Roger found the One Piece. That could be it. But man, 900 years? 900 years. They just got one recently. That would be a little bit absurd to me. Tom makes the most sense to me. Yes, Tom. Yeah. So before Barbell, Tom was a decent theory too. I don't know if we'll talk about it, but a lot of people think that Tom is dead. You know, it goes back to like Rocks, right? You know, we could just bring these characters back to life if Oda wanted to do it. Tom always kind of fell in that boat as well, alongside Saul. We saw that Tom was shipped off to Enies Lobby, and then that was pretty much it. You know, did he die? Did he get executed? Is he in prison? Are they making him build ships for the world government? We have no idea what the hell happened to Tom. And because there's like ambiguity there, because nobody outright said that he was killed, he could come back. You know, he could realistically come back. He's got real skin in the game. Being the previous Pluton blueprint holder, he's a fisherman. He's able to create whirlpools. He would have easy access to the Fishman Island Road Poneglyph. Giant shipwrights are now entering the chat, and we never actually saw him die. Yeah, there we go. His catchphrase is "Do it with the dawn." He built the sea train and is a fishman. If anyone could have escaped the situation, it is him. Oda usually brings back people with ambiguous deaths like Saul and Sabo. Dude has so much aura back in Water 7 flashback. I couldn't imagine Oda doing all that to just not use his character further. Dude, imagine if good old Tom is with Barbell and SUNBELL. That would be amazing. One more thing about Tom. I don't think this really matters, but when we were checking out the poneglyphs of Fishman Island and that missing spot where the red one was, Tom's brother was there too. You know, Tom's brother was chilling with Frankie at the sea forest. Maybe that was a hint that Tom has a connection to that place. This one says, what if Marked by Flames has nothing to do with burn marks - scars, but instead is similar to how Emu marks the God Knights with the sigil? Marked by Flames could be the sun god's equivalent to this. Could be wrong, but I'm very high. Yeah, this isn't bad either. When it comes to Marked by Flames, it could entirely be possible that it is metaphorical and not actual burn scars. So this could be decent. You know, if we're going with the God Knight world government route, that could explain why they're marked by flames. Of course, we also have like a lot of God Knights we haven't met too. So it could be, you know, realistic that they have burn scars and we just don't see it. Like, for example, there's that one God Knight, or God Steel, if you want to call him that. He has a gas mask. So realistically, he could take it off and there's burn scars on him. You know, that could be it too. I think Oda is going to definitely drop that bomb in Elbaf itself. And I think it's going to be one of the few people who we know but didn't really spend time with. My guess is that as the worst gen got their screen time in Wano, only Bej is missing. So I think Oda will play that card, or it's going to be Barbell. Bej. As the worst gen got their screen time in Wano, only Bej is missing. I think you meant to say Arouge. We've seen Bej. We spent a lot of time with Bej. We also know a decent amount about Bej too. I think you meant Arouge. So I'm just going to put Arouge right there instead. So yeah, I definitely think Oda will play that card, or it's going to be Barbell. I love it. I see Barbell vote. Hail the man marked by water. Oh yeah, marked by water. Water turning so fast, it leaves a burn scar. It might really be Barbell and SUNBELL. Barbell is the man marked by flames, and SUNBELL creates the whirlpools. Yep, and again, right? When it comes to SUNBELL, it would make sense if a Roger pirate was gatekeeping the One Piece. And, you know, maybe we learn about the man marked by flames here because of Scopper Gabon. Scopper Gabon, out of everybody, should know if a Roger pirate is holding a road poneglyph. Perhaps after Elbaf is over, the Straw Hats are like, okay, we just have to find the last one. Where is it? And Scopper says, oh, let me tell you about my former Nakama SUNBELL. That would be really effing dope. Crazy work if this turns out to be Dragon. Would make sense if he's in cahoots with Shanks and also has info from Garp. Would also make great timing as the final war is about to go down. Yeah, Dragon, I think could fit just because we have to meet him eventually. So I wouldn't mind that. As far as like, you know, him being in cahoots with Shanks and Garp, that could be possible, but, you know, I don't think this really affects him having that final road poneglyph. Like, you don't need information from Garp or Shanks to get that poneglyph. Like, it's simply sitting at Fishman Island. It would just suck because, you know, Dragon cannot read the poneglyphs. So, again, it would be odd if he had it and he never asked Robin to read it. I think that's kind of where I'm hung up at. And of course, like, you know, the black ship and, you know, the Marked by Flames thing, but, you know, we can make those work. We can make those work. Probably the man that Sengoku talked about when Garp called him at God Valley. Ooh, a sleeper pick. Yeah, nobody's mentioned that yet. Well, people mentioned it back when we first got the chapter, But nobody's mentioned it here yet, though. Yes, Garp and Sengoku talked about a guy who asked too many questions, and then later he disappeared. He could be dead, that is a reality, but this would generally be a brand new character. And it could somewhat fit the black ship thing if we go back to like the marine prison ship we talked about with Barbell, right? Maybe he had easy access to a ship like that, so it became all black. And that could be how he fits the black ship motif. But yeah, outside of that, we know nothing about this guy, so it's really hard to say. It's Kong or Zephyr. Kong or Zephyr. Kong or Zephyr having a pitch black ship and sailing around. Zephyr is a weird one. I put him in the same boat as Shiki. Like a movie character, dead, not dead, we don't really know. Canon, not canon. So I don't want to count him in. Kong is an odd one. Kong, he has an office in the Red Line. We've never seen him leave that office, really. So it's hard to say. And we don't know his powers, too. So that's really just like a blank slate character. I've heard so many theories from him being masked Deuce, Davy Jones, Rocks, Barbell, Sunbell, Herald, etc. To me right now, I'm likely betting it's either Davy Jones or masked Deuce. If not, it's likely a character we have never seen before. Yeah, Davy Jones. So the thing with Rocks and Davy Jones, if they were alive, I think it would just be crazy if nobody knew. I think that's my main thing with Davy Jones. Like, okay, Davy Jones, he's been alive for the past 900 years. He just recently picked up one of the poneglyphs. I think that's one thing for me. Masked Deuce isn't a bad option. If you guys don't know who this is Ace's second in command from the Ace light novels. We saw him before in the anime as well. He was also in the background of a couple of scenes, so I don't think he's a bad pick. It's just one of those characters that exists in a limbo. Like, will Oda bring him back in? Will we not? Going back to like Vista and Jozu, I'd almost put Masked Deuce in that same category, but a little bit lower. Where it's like, yeah, like we could see him again, but will we? Like, will this be a big reveal for everybody? Like Davy Jones, it would have impact. Masked Deuce? I don't really know. Because it's a character that I think a lot of people are generally not familiar with. But then again, we could look at Roto and say the same thing. Roto, that reveal of it being him, it's one of those things that not a lot of people, if you were to watch the anime, for example, not a lot of people would really pick it up and be like, oh my God, it's Roto? But for manga readers, it's like big, right? Because it's like a crazy theory. We also only saw him once in a cover page. So, I can't count Masked Deuce out, even though he exists in a weird territory. Not a bad pick. And I do know, good friend of the channel, Dak Sake. Dak Sake also very much believes it is Masked Deuce. So if you want to hear more about this theory specifically from somebody who knows a lot more about this character than me, I would check out my good friend Dak Sake over on YouTube. He also has really good theories there too, outside of the man marked by flames. I believe that Joy Boy from the Void Century is still alive, and he is the man marked by Joy Boy himself, huh? Yeah, sorry, man. I think I'd have to put Joy Boy at the bottom of the list. I would rather have like Rocks and Kong and all them above Joy Boy. Again, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, is Joy Boy really just around and about from the Void Century? I don't think so. I don't think Joy Boy's here. And the thing is, if he had the Sun God Nika Devil Fruit, I mean, what? Are there just two of them now? Or are his powers from something else entirely? Yeah, I don't think Joy Boy's super plausible. I kind of wish he explained why he believes Joy Boy is alive. Like, I can kind of see like where he's coming from, but it's like, okay, but how did we get here, I would love to hear more. This says, at this point, I'm fully invested in Barbell being the man marked by flames, and I have no shame. Yeah, I think the main thing with Barbell is that people would probably like this theory more if it didn't spawn from a meme. If I didn't just memeify Barbell to hell and back, I feel like people would kind of like this option more. But because, we're calling him the godfather of water, the originator of the ocean, the blue balling hockey master, yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why people don't like Barbell, and that's totally fair. This says, Barbell is unironically a top contender. He's relevant to the story. He could be a huge lore dump, and he has strong connections. I think it's Hanafuda. Used to be a warlord, worked for the government. We don't know where he is, if he's alive or not, and he's marked by flames. He fought Ace, and perhaps has a massive burn scar. The thing with Hanafuda is that we do know he's dead. And it's not one of those things where it's like ambiguous. It's revealed in an SBS that Hanafuda is killed. So this theory doesn't exactly work unless Oda goes back and retcons a previous SBS question. So I don't think this can really work. This says Naguri. Naguri. Oh, wow. Naguri. Yeah, I don't think it's Naguri, man. So if you guys don't know, Naguri, let me make sure I'm getting the guy right. Naguri is the guy from the One Piece filler episode where Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were fighting a tiger or bear, and Naguri had Conqueror's Haki. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I looked up an image. I don't know, man. This guy fought Roger like 50 years ago or something. He lost, his crew died, and now he just has a lot of respect for Roger, and I think he was like one of the first characters, of course not canon, who told Ace, hey, you know, your father was really cool. I liked Roger no matter what he did to me. Yeah, I don't think Naguri's canon. You know, it would be cool if they brought him in, but again, like, this is a character that does not exist in the manga. So this is like even harder than like masked Deucer Zephyr. This comment says, what is Barbell doing right here? Brother, wake up and smell the roses. It's Barbell season, boys. But with that being said, that is it for today, guys. I think we've talked about the man marked by flames long enough. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. When will we meet the man marked by flames? Will he be here in Elbaf? Who are your picks? Government agent, unknown pirate person, we've seen them before, or is it Barbell-SUNBELL? Let me know down below. And of course, we'll be coming back pretty soon for some more poll videos, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, take care, guys.